everybody, welcome back to Storytime on the Road. We are still in Washington, D.C., and this time the building behind me is the Library of Congress. That is the library in our nation's capital, and I believe that library has a copy, some electronic now, of every book that's ever published. So I thought we would read books about libraries today. Does that sound fun? All right, let's do our opening song. All right, ready? We make the sign for hello, and we make the sign for friends, and we sing, hello friends, hello friends, hello friends, it's time to read a book. Nice. Our first story today is called A Story of Patience and Fortitude. It's called Lost in the Library. It's by Josh Funk and it's illustrated by Stevie Lewis.
Does he have parents?
I don't know. Let's find out. Adeline's wondering if the lion has parents. How did he get lost in the library? The New York Public Library, not the one in Washington, but the one in New York, has two big lion sculptures on the front of it. So one of them's named Patience and one of them's named Fortitude. Okay. Early one morning, while all New York slept, night was transforming to dawn. Silence filled all of Manhattan except Fortitude, the lion, woke with a yawn. Oh man. Patience, good morning, he said from his plinth. Now he's talking to the other lion, but Patience was nowhere in sight. He'd entered the library's grand labyrinth when no one was watching last night. So one of the lion sculptures is missing. Fortitude never abandoned his post, but Patience had not yet returned. As sunlight ascended across the east coast, Fortitude grew quite concerned. Where's his buddy? How could he do this? He's never been late. Fortitude leapt on all fours. Lacking all patience, he couldn't just wait, and he scampered through Astor Hall's doors. So one lion is going to go find the missing lion. The ceiling above was 12 elephants tall and dozens of buffalo wide. Patience told stories of rooms like this hall, but it was a new world inside. Twisting and turning, he noticed some stairs. Patience might climb, he supposed. When reaching the top, he was caught unawares. A frolicsome statuette posed. Looking for someone? She asked with a grin. Fortitude nodded his head. Patience, my partner, my sidekick, my twin. I really must find him, he said. The Rose Main reading room, back to your right. Sometimes he's there, the girl stated. Fortitude thanked her and ran out of sight, hoping his buddy awaited. Over and under the tables and chairs, Fortitude looked high and low. Searching the shelves on the walls up the stairs, Fortitude paced to and fro. After what felt like forever, he ceased. Patience just wasn't around. Fortitude heard someone's voice to the east and eagerly followed the sound. Where is that lion named Patience? People in portraits that lined every wall whispered and gossiped away. So Fortitude roared out his loudest of all to turn their attention his way. Roar! Has anyone noticed a lion like me? He's quiet and peaceful and sweet. A grumpy old man said, no lion but thee, now please go back to the street. Exiting gloomily, Fortitude wandered back through the library's maze. Patience, dear Patience, where are you? He pondered while thinking of happier days. In the beginning, young Patience was shy, but But Fortitude thought he was rude. Weeks and then months and then years traveled by. Eventually, friendship ensued. Patience told stories of ducklings and moons, of wardrobes and buttons and fun. On cold, snowy evenings or hot afternoons, Fortitude cherished each one. So Patience goes into the library and gets all kinds of adventures and reads books. Rays from the sun had begun creeping in when water flew out from a sink. A little bronze lion said, "Gotcha! I win," and gave him a satisfied wink. The lion said, "Wait, you're not Patience." "Oh no, the Splash, it's a game that we play." "Patience?" asked Fortitude. "Where did he go? The sunrise is minutes away." "Today? Haven't seen him," the lion confessed. "But I wouldn't worry, old chap. Perhaps you require some help on your quest. I think what you need is a map." Fortitude scanned every atlas he could before tossing each to the side. Only a library map would be good. Here, it says, Visitor's Guide and Map. In English, the New York Public Library. Eureka! A visitor's guide. Oh, how many hundreds of rooms can exist? Reading the map, he was shocked. Ooh, look what you see. Fortitude dashed to the places he'd missed, except to the doors that were locked. Maybe that's him looking at all the rooms, I don't know. He searched every floor from the first to the third. Patience just couldn't be found. Fortitude thought, "I will not be deterred. What's on this floor labeled ground? What's on the ground floor?" Fortitude quickly crept down the dark hall and into a jungle of joy, with colorful pictures adorning each wall and books for each cat, girl, and boy. Fortitude prowled past Sendak and Rylant, Yolen and Pinckney and Bloom. Those are all authors of children's books. While keeping his footsteps impeccably silent, he heard something in the next room. "Oh! Patience!" said Fortitude. "What are you doing?" But Patience stood still as a stone. "The sun's almost risen. The pigeons are cooing. You've got to get back to your throne." "Just one more paragraph," Patience declared. Then something caught Fortitude's eye. There lay the stories that Patience had shared. The monkeys, the pebble, the pie. We know that one, don't we?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's Cats for Sale.
Caps for Sale. Good job. Yes, you guys might know Caps for Sale too. Yes. Huh. Patience, did you learn the stories for me? Fortitude asked, but he knew. Patience just nodded and said, "Well, you see, I love sharing stories with you." That's how I feel about all of you. I love sharing stories with you. The lions returned to their guard on the street and
And guess what, Mima?
What? 10 what?
No pony.
Oh, no pony on your fingers. Oh, it
But
fell off.
it's still right here.
Oh, good. The lions returned to their guard on the street and nobody noticed they'd gone. Phew! Fortitude sat on his usual seat and slowly the day carried on. But something was missing. Though Patience was found, Fortitude still felt a need. "Patience," he said, "when there's no one around, tonight, can we sneak in and read?" Now Fortitude wants to go into the library too, just like Patience, right? And find all the good books to read. The end. That's a fun one, isn't it? I'm glad Fortitude kept with it. Let's read another book, this time about a library mouse. Home Sweet Home. First we read a book about a lion in the library. Now we're going to read a book about a mouse in the library. Okay? Sam was a library mouse. If you were to ask him his favorite things, he would surely say reading and writing. Sam was a storyteller and a dreamer and a lover of words. But if you were to ask Sam's friend Sarah what her favorite things were, she would say exploring and having adventures. Though they had different interests, Sam and Sarah were the best of friends. I like exploring and having adventures and reading and writing. How about you? One night, the two mice were surprised to discover half-empty library shelves and boxes packed with books. Sam's heart was pounding as he climbed up onto the library's desk and read the papers he found there. Renovation, he said warily. Do you know what renovation means? That means they're going to change, they're going to tear up some of it and build new. So they're going to remodel or change the way the building is. Sarah asked, what does that mean? I guess they're going to tell us, right? Sam frowned as he went to the dictionary to see what the word meant. To make new again. Renovation, to make new again. He read aloud. So they're going to redo the library. But it looks perfect to me just the way it is. And if those plans are right, they're going to have to take it all apart before they can fix it. Where will we live while the work is done? The two of us will have to go exploring and find a new home, said Sarah. Thank you.
There's lots of ants on you.
Yeah.
And on the books.
In the library kitchen, Sarah led Sam into the dark space beneath the sink. There's room in here for a couple of mice, she said. But the sound of running water in the pipes made Sam feel very nervous. He didn't like that space. Next, Sam and Sarah crept down to the basement. Let's keep looking, Sam said with a shudder, eyeing a dusty old mouse trap in the corner. He didn't want to be near that, did he? What about this, Sarah said as they climbed up the creaky stairs to the library attic. No one ever comes up here. I can see why, Sam said, gazing into the shadows. There's too much space up here for me. I need a home that's a little cozier. Sarah said, then you could build a house right here, Sam. Something just your size. That's a great idea, Sam said. Oh, look at that. I'm going to build the perfect house for a library mouse. And I'll build one too, Sarah said. A house for an explorer who likes adventure. Whoa. First, Sam and Sarah moved all their belongings up to the attic. I hope they haven't packed up the architecture books yet, Sam said. Architecture, Sarah repeated. What's that? It's the art of designing buildings, Sam answered. And somebody who designs buildings is called an architect. Let's get going. We've got a lot of research to do. So somebody designed that beautiful library behind us, didn't they? A long time ago. Oh, here's some. Sam and Sarah went back to the children's room and found the books they were looking for on top of a box. The books were filled with pictures of all types of buildings. This is the kind of thing I like, Sam said, studying classical buildings from ancient Rome. And this looks great to me, Sarah said, looking at a Mongolian home called a yurt. You guys see the classic buildings and the yurt? The two mice gathered materials from anywhere and everywhere in the library. Then they hauled their supplies up to the attic and began making their new houses. Building was hard work. Sam used cardboard and tape for the walls and tubes from paper towel rolls for the columns. When he was finished with his house, he stood back to take a look. Did that look a little bit like a classic architecture building? I think so, yeah. It's all right, Sam said, but it just doesn't feel cozy like home. I love my yurt, Sarah said. This isn't the perfect house for a library mouse, Sam said. Let's go back down to the children's room. Maybe I'll find something to get me inspired. So Sam's not happy with his... Oh, whoa. A castle, Sam said, turning the pages of his book. You know what they say, a mouse's home is his castle. I don't have any stones, but I saw a package of marshmallows in the kitchen I could use for building. Oh, look at this igloo, Sarah said. I could make one with sugar cubes, and if we get tired of our new houses, we could just eat them. If he makes marshmallows and sugar cubes, they're just going to eat their houses. Sam and Sarah spent many nights working in the attic. But during the day, when they tried to sleep, the sound of hammers and saws drifted up from the library below. Finally, Sam finished his castle. It looks very grand, he said, and I'd feel safe in there, but it just doesn't feel like home. Sarah said, you'll always be a library mouse, Sam, no matter what kind of house you live in. But as long as you keep building, I will too. There are so many kinds of houses to make. Over the next few weeks, Sam built a cottage with a thatched roof, a Tudor-style house, a bungalow, and a modern house. Look at all those houses he built. None of them feel just right, apparently. Sarah had fun making an acorn-shaped house from Bolivia, an earthen castle from Togo, a Vietnamese stilt house, and a space-age geodesic dome. They are so clever. These houses would be nice for somebody, Sam said, but I haven't found the perfect house for a library mouse. Come on, Sarah said, what's wrong with the ones you built? Sam frowned. I miss my library. He went back down to the children's room, hoping to look at some more books about architecture, but he found the windows taped over and the door sealed shut. Sam trudged back up to the attic. He wondered how he would ever feel at home again, like he had in his little hole beneath the children's reference books. At the top of the stairs, Sarah met her friend with a smile on her face. Come look at what I made for you, Sam, she said. What's it gonna be? Oh, I found an old book in the corner. It's called an atlas, and it's full of maps. I stood it on end and opened it up, and just like that, I made you an A-frame house, like one I saw in a book. It looks like an A, right? Wow, Sam said, lying on his back and looking up at the map that made his slanting walls of his new home. It's cozy and pretty close to perfect. Thanks, Sarah. Sam loved his new house and he was very happy, but when he tried to go to sleep, he tossed and turned. With a start, he realized it was because the library was too quiet. There wasn't any hammering or pounding anymore. Later that day, Sam went to get Sarah. I think they finished working on the library, he said. Let's take a look. Sam gasped at the sight of the newly renovated library. It was truly beautiful and better than ever. There's just one thing, Sam said to Sarah. The next morning, when the children arrived, there was a sign that read, "Home and where to find it." Along the top of the shelves was an array of houses from all over the world. They're like the displays we had before, a child said. They make the library feel like home again, said another. And Sam and Sarah were the first to agree. They put the houses they built, they put them on display for children. How about that? Library mouse, that was pretty fun, huh? Let's do a couple songs.
We have one more book.
We do have one more book. Yep.
Library Bible.
Yep, you love that one, don't you? Where did the cover for it go? Here it is. Okay. Let's do a little song. Have you ever heard of the Library Song by Tom Chapin? If you haven't, have your parents look it up on YouTube or something, right? So we're not going to sing the whole song because it's got a lot of words, but we're just going to do the chorus. We'll do it a couple times, and it goes, I'm going down to the library, picking out a book, check it in, check it out. So let's do that. I'm going down to the library, picking out a book, check it in, check it out. And then it goes, gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book, check it in, check it out. Try that. Gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book, check it in, check it out. Okay, so, and then there's a whole lot of fun verses about this, but let's try the whole chorus. I'm going down to the library, picking out a book, check it in, check it out. Gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book, check it in, check it out. Right? Do you guys like to go to the library and get new books to read? It's fun, isn't it? Hopefully the library is, you probably can't go right now, but maybe you can get books from the library, I hope. Or from the bookstore, right? That is the Library of Congress, that's right.
That's probably where that little lion went.
Maybe that is where the lion went. Could be.
Remember? Oh, I see those two big things.
You think that's there? The pedestals for the lion?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do Zoom Zoom, and then we'll read Library Lion, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right.
I always like to do Zoom Zoom.
You do? Okay.
So do we have lunch here?
Well, it's way later than lunchtime, right? Let's try it. Ready, guys? Zoom, 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 we're going to the moon. Zoom, 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 we're going to the moon. If you want to take a trip, climb aboard my rocket ship. Zoom, 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 we're going to the moon. Count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Nice job.
Where's my pony?
I don't know. Okay, we have one more book about libraries.
Where is
And
my pony?
this one is one of Adeline's favorites, I think. We'll find it before when story time's over. This is called Library Lion, and it's by Michelle Knudsen, and it's illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. Library Lion. Ready? One day, a lion came to the library. He walked right past the circulation desk and up into the stacks. The stacks are where all the books are. Right. Mr. McBee ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. Miss Merriweather, he called. No running, said Miss Merriweather without looking up. But there's a lion, said Mr. McBee, in the library. Is he breaking any rules? Asked Miss Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. Well, no, said Mr. McBee, not really. Then leave him be. The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalog. He rubbed his head against the new book collection. Then he padded over to the story corner and went to sleep. No one was sure what to do. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. Soon it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions at story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous, but she read out the first book's title in a good, clear voice. The lion looked up. The story lady kept reading. I'm not sure what I would do if a lion came and joined us right now. That would be pretty weird, wouldn't it? But kind of interesting. The lion stayed for the next story and the story after that. He waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. Story hour is over, a little girl told him. It's time to go. The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books. Then he roared very loud. Roar! getting out of her office. Who is making that noise? She demanded. It's the lion, said Mr. McBee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion. If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave, she said in a stern voice. Those are the rules. The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow? She asked. The lion stopped roaring. He looked at Miss Merriweather. Miss Merriweather looked back. Then she said, yes, a nice, quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow. Hooray, said the children. The next day, the lion came back. You are early, said Miss Merriweather. Story hour is not until 3 o'clock. The lion did not budge. Very well, said Miss Merriweather. You might as well make yourself useful. She sent him off to dust the encyclopedias until it was time for story hour. The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Miss Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. Look, soon the lion began doing things without being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, he licked the envelopes, he let small children stand on his back to reach books on the highest shelves. Then he curled up in the in the story corner to wait for story hour to begin. At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion, but soon they got used to having him around. In fact, he seemed very well suited for the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor. He made a comfy backrest for the children at story hour, and he never roared in the library anymore. What a helpful lion, people said. They patted his soft head as he walked by. How did we ever get along without him? Mr. McBee scowled when he heard that. They had always gotten along fine before. No lions were needed. Lions, he thought, could not understand rules. They did not belong in the library. One day, after he had dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour. Hello, lion, said Miss Merriweather. I know something you can do. You can bring a book back into the stacks for me. Let me just get it down from the shelf. Miss Merriweather stepped up onto the step stool. Here she is. Uh-oh. The book was just out of reach. Miss Merriweather stood on her toes. She stretched out her fingers. Almost there, she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. Uh-oh. Ouch, said Miss Merriweather softly. She did not get up. Mr. McBee, she called after a minute. Mr. McBee. But Mr. McBee was at the circulation desk. He could not hear her calling. Lion, said Miss Merriweather. Please go and get Mr. McBee. The lion ran down the hall. No running, Miss Merriweather called after him. He put his big front paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. Go away, lion, said Mr. McBee. I'm busy. The lion whined. He pointed his nose down the hall toward Miss Merriweather's office. Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing he could think of to do. He looked Mr. McBee right in the eye. Then he opened his mouth very wide, and he roared the loudest roar he had roared. Perfect. Just like that. Just like that. Whoa, look at Mr. McBee's glasses. He roared his glasses right off his head. Mr. McBee gasped. You're not being quiet, he said to the lion. You're breaking the rules. Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and walked toward the doors. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called as he walked. "Miss Merriweather!" The lion broke the rules. The lion broke the rules. He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk, "there is a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Now, please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." She broke her arm when she fell off the stool. Mr. McBee ran to call a doctor. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. Poor Miss Merriweather. The next day, things were back to normal, almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor had told her not to work too hard. "I will have my lion to help me," Miss Merriweather thought. But the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner. The story lady was just beginning a story for the children. The lion was not there. People in the library kept looking up from their books and computer screens, hoping they would see a familiar furry face, but the lion did not come that day. The lion did not come the next day either, or the day after that. Where did he go? He knew he broke the rules, right? One evening, Mr. McBee stopped by Miss Merriweather's office on his way out. "Can I do anything for you before I go, Miss Merriweather?" he asked her. "No, thank you," said Miss Merriweather. She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. Mr. McBee frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Miss Merriweather after all. Mr. McBee left the library, but he did not go home. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked under cars. He looked behind bushes. He looked in backyards and trash cans and tree houses. Finally, he circled all the way back to the library. The lion was sitting outside looking in through the glass doors. "Hello, lion," said Mr. McBee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a new rule at the library. No roaring allowed unless you have a very good reason. Say if you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McBee was already walking away. No roaring unless you're trying to help a friend. The next day, Mr. McBee walked down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. McBee?" said Miss Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. Mr. McBee smiled. "No running," he called after her. Miss Merriweather didn't listen. Yay! Sometimes there was a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. That's a good one, isn't it? He came back. Let's Nope, we're done. Let's sing our goodbye song. Thanks for being here, you guys. I'm glad you could be here for our story time on the road, and next week we'll be back in our home, and I hope to see you guys in person someday. Let's do our goodbye song, shall we? Nope. Goodbye, friends.
I want to see
Okay.
the friends.
Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Thanks for coming.